Think of your ancestors through the ages, the strong, dominant masculine men, full of testosterone, ready to conquer the challenges in front of them. They lived natural lives full of adventure. And then we have you, a weak modern man, who is much more submissive than he would like to be. The modern-day propaganda has stripped you of your birthright to become a masculine man, and that is not okay. You are the weakest man of your entire bloodline. If you really think of your ancestors, you know, your father, and then his father and his father, and on and on and on, go back hundreds of years, even thousands. Those men were all super masculine, full of testosterone, all disciplined as fuck. And then we have us, modern young men addicted to porn, eating junk food, and playing video games. Why is that? Well, it all comes down to our testosterone levels. If your testosterone level is average now, you are still far below the level that some 60-year-old man had 100 years ago. The normal levels of testosterone now are between 280 and 1100 nanograms per deciliter. That's the metric that it's counted in. So if you are in the middle, which is around 400, you are now considered normal, average, and healthy, but the average now was the average for 70-year-old men 100 years ago. So 400 nanograms per deciliter would be considered normal by some obese doctor now. But back then, like 50 years ago or whatever, this would be very, very low. Back then, the normal testosterone would be above 1,000. So the average man would have like 1,500. And the modern medicine tells you that having 400 is okay. I mean, some people will get offended at this. You know, the science nerds will criticize me for saying we need above the normal levels. They will criticize me for telling you to not be average. I mean, look around, go outside, and look at the first 10 men you see. That's the average. Why the fuck would you want to be like them? If you visualize 10 random men right now, do you want to be like them? Fuck no. You don't want to be anything like these guys. And I am not trying to disrespect them or anything, but the truth is most men are weak, and those guys don't do anything to help themselves. I am all for helping men. I am all for supporting men, because I used to be one of you. But the majority of men are fine with staying weak, and we can't help them. Nowadays, there is like 1% of guys who are actually actively thinking to themselves, yes, I want to be stronger, I want to improve, I want to be more masculine. And those are the men I want to help. Those are the men that I support. Those are the men who can join our clan of young men on self-improvement. Low testosterone makes you submissive. That's why I started this video by talking about testosterone. If you tell a man with high testosterone to do something, he will say, why? What's in it for me? Why should I do what you say? On the other hand, if you tell a man with low testosterone to do something, he will say, yes sir, right away boss. And I am not saying that submissiveness is necessarily a bad trait. But is it a bad trait for men? Yes. Is it a bad trait for you, a young man who wants to get stronger? Fuck yeah. And this doesn't mean that you need to be some arrogant prick. This doesn't mean you should be a bad person, but disagreeable men who are willing to disagree with someone, are the most successful in life. If you are submissive, then you will just end up fulfilling someone else's goal. And the majority of men, even the men who are trying to become stronger, so even you, we often think, you know, weak men are like this, and we are like this. But we are talking about us here. You and I, we are too weak, we are too submissive, we are too feminine, and we have too low levels of testosterone, and we need to improve. I think another reason we are becoming more submissive is because of social norms. It's starting to get normalized, to be kind of passive and timid, to wait for someone to tell you what to do. The education system really puts this onto you. You have to wait for the teacher to tell you what to do, when to work, when to listen, when you can eat, when you can take a drink. I mean, you have to ask the fucking teacher for permission to go and take a piss. You have to ask the teacher, the daddy, for permission to go and do the basic human needs. Do you know how hard it is to become an entrepreneur because of this? Because of this conditioning, the hardest part about becoming an entrepreneur is just learning to work by yourself without anybody telling you what to do. You have this desire to make a lot of money and do all these great things. You have a burning desire to work on your goals, but you can't because, from age 6 or 7, you were put into the education system where the only time you did the work was when the teacher told you to do so. And they say that school prepares you for life. No, it doesn't. We are conditioned in a way that if someone who is higher authority is saying something to you, you should listen to them no matter what. And this makes us feel really safe, really nice, and comfortable. But comfort is the killer of man. Discomfort is what you should be striving for. And so I ask you, How much discomfort have you experienced over the past few months? How many times have you not waited for someone to tell you what to do? How many times have you taken matters into your own hands and done things that need to be done even though you didn't feel like doing them? This is very, very difficult. I sometimes even don't want to make these videos, but I do them because I am supposed to. I do the things that need to be done even if I don't feel like doing them. That is how you become a real man. I think the biggest reason for us being so submissive nowadays is because we are mentally weak. The society's influence and the low testosterone play a big part, but the biggest reason is because we are mentally weak. The biggest part comes from our shit mental health, from all the modern technology, and the hyper-stimulating TikTok videos. You don't even realize that everything we do trains us. Everything we do trains our brain and our body. We adapt to it. And so when you sit through and watch an entire educational podcast, like for example Andrew Huberman, without looking away, just making eye contact with the person speaking, you are training your brain to focus for longer and longer. When you can't do this, when you have to constantly go on social media where you are getting information every 1 or 2 seconds, you are training your brain to only be able to focus for like 10 seconds at a time. We are complaining about being submissive when our attention span is lower than a fucking goldfish. You are not really aware of this, but every 10 seconds or maybe even lower, your mind goes elsewhere. You are watching this video, paying attention, but then you suddenly get a thought about the one memory from school. This is why it's very hard for a lot of people nowadays to read. This used to be my biggest struggle. I just couldn't read. When I was reading my first book, which was How to Win Friends and Influence People, I had to read it while listening to an audiobook because I needed that extra stimulation. Otherwise, I just couldn't read. And this is so sad because there is so much knowledge in books. You have a millionaire, a really successful man who writes a book where he tells you how to get rich, and you can't pay attention to it because you keep mind wandering. People nowadays can't read. Even us, we are men on self-improvement, and some of us can't even read properly. Look at the view count of this video. At least 90% of those people don't read because they can't get the benefit of it, because of their shit attention span. And they will cope. Maybe it's you. You will cope and say, "Oh, but I can just watch a YouTube video. I can just watch a summary of the book." Andrew Tate said that reading isn't even that important. Just shut the fuck up. Reading is the single best thing you can do to become more successful, and bunch of people make up lies to make it seem like they are better for not reading, but the real reason is they can't. They can't read properly. How about you take some accountability? If that is you, if you don't read, if you haven't read a single page of a book over the past week, chances are you can't read. You need to actually take some accountability. Hold your hand up and say, "I can't read." That's not okay. That's literally a mental illness, not being able to focus and read. You learned how to read in first grade, and now you can't because of the damage you've done to your brain. You are literally making yourself intentionally weaker with the modern technology. I mean, even my videos, watching them can be helpful, but even I edit them a lot. It's valuable advice. But I put these Wojak animations here to keep your attention here for longer, so I can talk to you and give you advice without you clicking away. When you get to the point when you find my videos too overstimulating, to a point that it fucking disgusts you, when you get to the point when self-improvement becomes automatic, that's when it's your duty to stop watching me and go out into the world and explore, start a business, and do what you actually want to do in life. You know, it's always good to have some repetition, to have someone tell you again about meditation and things like that, so you don't fall off. That is why I sometimes still watch people like Hamza or First Man. That does help, but there is a point when you won't need this anymore, and I want that for you. Of course, I want my YouTube channel to grow, but I don't want you to always be addicted to my videos, like these new self-improvement YouTubers want you to be. The thing that I care more about than just growing my channel is going outside and seeing young men improving. I want to go outside and walk past a guy who has been meditating for the past 5 months. I want to walk past a guy who goes to the gym. That is what makes me happy, and that is what I want for the future. That's why I make these videos. Well, anyway, go do something productive now and bye.